Good morning, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Works every time. It's great. So welcome to the Retired Living True series. Does anyone know who I am by now? Yeah. For those who don't, who are new, my name's Brett Janelle, and I'll be your host along with my wife, Annette Janelle. And I'm excited to be here today for a whole range of reasons. I'm going to tell you as we go along as to why. But now's a really good time to silence our cell phones. If we haven't already. We had a few go off last month. And I'm very happy to see some people who are festive. I see some festive sweaters, a hat. So my plan last night, before we came, I said to Annette, I'm going to wear my ugly sweater. I really wanted to wear one. That was my plan. So if my hands got cold, I could put them in my little pockets and stay warm. And then Annette said, that's not a very good idea. That's not really appropriate for today. You need to dress up a little bit better than that. What do you all think? I could have worn this? Yeah. Thank you. See that? Very well. So then Annette comes up to me quietly this morning and she says, guess what they said on the news this morning today is? Does anyone know? Ugly Sweater Day. Yeah, good morning. I didn't know that yesterday, that today was Ugly Sweater Day. So next year. So we're going to do things a little differently today. I'm going to take a little bit more time this morning to go through some of the housekeeping items so we don't have to do it at the end of today. And who's here for the first time? Okay, welcome. And just kind of hang along with us because everyone else kind of knows what the format is. We kind of do it the same each time. So just bear with us, or if you have questions, just ask one of your neighbours. But a couple of the housekeeping items I want to cover is one will be out by 11:30 as we always are, so we always keep it complete. But we're super excited because with the help of our sponsors, quite a number of you, and various other people in the community, we've come up with our 2020 schedule, and hopefully you've all noticed we have one in front of you. So we have all of our seminars planned out for next year. And I'm quite excited by some of them. Do any of these catch your interest? Tell me one. Which one? Someone who's excited about? May 22nd. Oh, you didn't want to say what it was. May 22nd, which says the truth about cannabis for seniors. So with this grand plan of doing this topic, I'm thinking we could bring samples, we could all have a great time. We'll see what happens. Works for you? Yeah. So we have some really good topics for next year, and some amazing speakers are going to help us with that. And again, thank you to everyone who contributed ideas, our sponsors who brainstormed with us for next year's schedule. So one thing you will notice on here that I need to mention, this year all of our seminars have been on a Thursday. Some people came up to us and said, is there any way you can mix it up a little bit, because we can't always make a Thursday, or I have something else on a Thursday. So I think the year before last we kind of did a mixture of days, and we've gone back to that for next year. So don't think it's a Thursday when you're signing up regularly. You'll see the days are there, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Friday, Thursday, Tuesday, and so on. So don't show up here on the wrong day. That would be bad. The second thing I wanted to cover is we'd really like your help in a couple of different areas. We'd like to promote this more into 2020. Who's been to more than 3 or 4 of these seminars? Wow. So I guess they're helpful, aren't they? Getting value from coming along. So we'd like more people to get value from coming along to the seminars and learning along with us. So to help us promote it, we've put together some tear sheets. For those people who are comfortable to help us, we basically want to put these up all around town. Anywhere you frequent, if you're comfortable, if there's like a community board there, and you'd be happy to stick one up at your gym, the coffee shop, church, wherever it is that you might go. Only if you're comfortable. We have a heap of those up the front here. If at the end of the day you'd like to take one and stick it up somewhere. And we found quite a few people have been attending by tearing off the little tag and then finding out more about it. Show of hands, would anyone be willing to do that? Has to be one person. Okay, there's a few. Thank you, that'd be great. We really appreciate that. You sharing it where you go is probably a lot more effective than what we did last year. It's spent a whole lot of money on TV and radio that got us nothing. It was not the best use of it. And then we have lots of the schedules that you have in front of you. So if you have a friend, a neighbour, someone who'd like to share this with, we have plenty of schedules, of some up front and some outside if you want to grab extra ones for each. Evaluations. You all pull out the yellow evaluation form you have. And I just want to say special thanks. As I walked around, I saw some people have already completed it. Thank you for the 10s. That's great. Those are the achievers in the room who take action. Don't trust the hand. But I just want to draw your attention to a couple of things. One, who uses Facebook in here regularly? Okay, Facebook. Social media platform, keeping in contact with friends, family. So maybe 20% of the audience. Okay, great. If you can just mark on the form, so you'll see part way down it says, do you use Facebook regularly? If you do, just check yes. If you don't, no. We're not going to add you to our Facebook group or anything like that. We just want to get a feel for how many people are using Facebook. And then the second one is pre-registering for next month's seminar. So we always have this on the evaluation form. The reason I'm pointing this out is if you're going to help us promote the seminar, what do you think is going to happen? Look how full the room is today. Are we going to run out of space? So does anyone think we shouldn't promote it so we don't run out of space? So running out of space is a good problem. So what we've done for 2020, we've reserved this room for the full day. So if we have overflow, what we're going to do when we get to a point where we have too many people, we'll do the same thing again in the afternoon. Maybe with the same speakers, maybe with different speakers. It'll be the same topic, but the panelists may be different. So there might be some people who want to come along and hear from a different MD or whoever the panelists might be that day. So don't worry about running out of space because we've over-promoted it. And if we fill the morning and the afternoon, what will we do then? We'll find a bigger venue. Yeah. I have big dreams. I'm thinking like the convention centre. Just kidding. I can't even imagine the logistics of that. And then the last item there, we'd really like your help. A lot of the audience come up to Annette and I and our sponsors and make great suggestions, and we implement them whenever we can, which is most of the time. But we'd like to have a focus group the week of January the 6th, for anyone who might be willing to join us. We're probably looking like 6 to 10 people, where we just sit around a table and maybe some wine and coffee or whatever's appropriate. And sorry, my mind went somewhere else. I'm thinking of that May 30th event. Where that came from. But we'd like to get your input in terms of how can we make this a better experience for the audience going forward in 2020. Where else could we perhaps promote this? And then getting some input if you have ideas on the certain topics that we might like some help with in terms of the direction those topics go in, and then who the speakers are for those topics. So we'd like to get some feedback and input on those. So if you'd be willing to help us with that, if you could just check that box, and then we'll reach out to you and we'll arrange what day and what time works. So thank you. So for Annette and I, this is our favourite day of the month, where we get to leave the office and come and hang out with all you guys, because this is just a lot of fun for us. And it's also so rewarding for us. So I don't know if you realise, I know a lot of people are appreciative of what we do, but we're so appreciative of you being here, Annette, myself, our team, the sponsors, because you come up to many different people, and we always get feedback that you say how much you appreciate it, and that kind of fills our bucket. Makes us feel good that we're doing something good for other people. So I thought this quote was very appropriate for today's topic and going into next year. Yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, but today is a gift. And that's why it's called the present. I'm sure you've all seen that before, but sometimes we kind of forget. We just appreciate each day we have and the people around us, and just how fortunate we are. And not always be looking at the past or looking at the future, and enjoy now. So hopefully you got to enjoy a present we carefully wrapped and left on your tables. And there's a little gift inside that. Has anyone already read that little gift? Yeah, the chocolate inside. Well, hopefully I'm correct. Normally Dove always have a little saying inside the chocolates. Do these have sayings? Has anyone got a saying they can share? Has anyone got a really good one? Yeah, please. Oh, Eleanor Roosevelt has a version of that song. Yesterday is history, and tomorrow is a mystery. Yeah, we don't know what tomorrow is. And today is a gift. Yeah, very similar. But someone tell me, are there sayings inside these stuffed chocolates?
Yeah.
Has anyone got a good one? What did you get, Dawson?
Chocolate brings joy.
Chocolate brings joy. And for those who have been here a while, you probably know I'm a chocoholic, and chocolate does bring joy. And also it's not good for the waist, but that's another matter. So I just want to recognise our sponsors. We've had some fantastic sponsors who help us with this in terms of topics, setting up the room, and I think they're truly a gift to everybody in this room, Annette and I included, because we use the services of many of our sponsors. And they're just such a great resource to help anyone if you have questions, whether you need something now or in the future. I would just encourage everyone, if you haven't already, to get to know who our sponsors are. They're here because we trust them, and we know they do great things, so they're worth knowing. And they're worth reaching out to when you need something. And if they don't know, I know they will connect you with whoever it is that you might need, whatever it might be in life. So that brings us to today's topic, the truth about successful aging. Does anyone think they're doing a good job of aging successfully? Come on, everyone should have the hand up. We're all here, we're all present, so we're all doing a pretty good job of it. But successful aging can mean many different things. And that's kind of our theme for next year. It's talking about what successful aging is. And if you've looked at the topics, you'll see they kind of fit into this theme. So it's aging in place, being comfortable and happy and secure where we are. For some, it's moving somewhere else. It's part of having purpose in life, having a sense of self, being mindful. It's also about having a support team around us. Who are the people we need in our lives? And I think is it December or November? What's November's topic? I've got a schedule in front of them. Dale, what does November say there? Yeah, next year. Yeah, next November. Someone say it again? Who's on your team? Yeah, who should be on your team? So having people around us is obviously very important. Can any of us do everything on our own? Who harvested the coffee beans this morning for their coffee? Anybody? Who built their car in order to get here? So you get my point. We need other people. We can't do everything on our own. So it's all about who's our team. And then another one is our health, whether it be fitness, being active, our doctor, hospital, knowing what services are available. But today what we're going to focus on is something that's dear to our heart, is when the home that we're in no longer serves our purpose and that we are going to move somewhere else. We're not going to age in place. Well, we are, but just not where we were. We're going to move to somewhere else. And who has lots of stuff? Anyone? Lots of stuff? Yeah. So one of the big things that prevent us moving is all the stuff. So I have some panellists today who are actually audience members. And they're going to join me in just a moment and share the journey they've been through as they've successfully aged. And to me, they're the epitome of successful aging, as of many of you here that I know. And they're just going to share the process they've been with, because they've been through, because they've just recently moved. So if I could have Joe, Lois, and Joe, would you guys come up and join me, please? And I'm sure a lot of you will recognise these faces. They're our superstar moves. Can we give them a big welcome as they come up? Where would you like to be, Lois? And then Joe, you're going to be in the middle. Joe on the other end. Turn on your microphone, Joe. So these guys don't do this normally. They're normally not up on stage, and they're looking out and seeing all of these faces. And you guys feel, how do you feel? Good? They're all friendly. We'll tell us something. So, I would like to start by asking them some questions. And the way we're going to do this is I've prepared some questions, as we always do on your behalf. And then once we've got through those, they've agreed kindly, as our other panellists do, to take any questions you might have. Do you have your mics on, Joe and Lois? We'll get those turned on. You on, Joe?
Am I on?
You're on? You're on. Fantastic. So these guys have all moved recently. So here on my immediate right is Joe Bauer. And Joe, you have recently moved about 6 months ago to Morningstar, one of our independent living communities. And Lois and Joe, I should go on the next slide, shouldn't I? Yes, there we are. Lois and Joe have just moved just within the last few weeks from their home into Rebel Ranchero, another independent living community here in town. And so I'm just going to start by asking you some questions. I'm going to sit down here. So if I can start with you, Joe. So you moved 6 months ago. How long were you in your home prior to making that move?
First of all, we came to Nevada from California after living in Orange County for, I'll just say, 40 years, and decided to come to Nevada for the usual main reason, taxes. Talking to other residents where I lived in before where I live now, most people moved here to be taxes avoidance or to be close to children. But when we moved here, we moved into the Del Webb community, which is part of Somerset, if you know where that is. And we were there about 15 years. And then we started thinking about moving. And the main reason we started thinking about moving is for health reasons. I myself had a triple bypass 2 years ago. And I'm 1 year younger than my mother, who died of a heart attack. And also, my grandfather also had a heart attack. So our main reason for moving was to get in the door where we can walk in and not be carried in. So that's what started us thinking about this process. And we recently moved last summer from the Del Webb into senior living community called Morningstar.
And how long were you in Del Webb before you made the move?
About 15 years.
Okay. And then you said you wanted to be able to walk in, so you mean not waiting for some crisis to
Not
happen?
have to go in with a wheelchair or walker or something like that. Just let's get in while we're still healthy.
So you and Susan wanted to make the decisions and be in control of that whole process?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So Lois, Joe, same question. So tell us where you were living before moving and how long you lived in that home.
Well, we were living in Galena Forest for 5.5 years. When all of a sudden we had a rainy day in July that came right through our roof. And that was the signal I had that I didn't want to take care of a house anymore. Maintenance was, I've been sloughing off anyway, and I had a good yard man who'd come over every now and then. And I just was getting too tired to do that sort of thing anymore. And in this move, we had too many things. And we had to get rid of a lot of things. We had a 2/3 to 3/4 reduction. We haven't exactly settled on the figure yet.
So we'll dig down more on that too, as how much stuff we had as part of the move. Okay. And so you've just moved in. You're just in the process of getting settled in your new home, and Joe's been there for 6 months. So we're at different kind of stages in terms of the moving process.
We're still moving it.
Still moving in. It's a process. And then, so you said the roof. We've got two Joes. This makes it a little confusing. Mr. Parks. So you said the roof was one. Were there other factors that caused you to think about moving, or Lois?
Well, you continue on your line.
Well, I was just, as I said, I had just lost the energy to go ahead and do these things. But also, some friends gave me a copy of Dr. Marcus's autobiography. Who's Dr. Marcus? He was a camera specialist who devised a better bomb sight for World War II airplanes to stop comet bombing. And he made a lot of money, and he moved into Los Altos Hills, if you know the Bay Area. And it rained one day, and the house started sliding down the hill of dirt that the house was built on because the contractor had failed to let the dirt settle. And he was pretty grumbly about that, apparently. And Palo Alto has a couple of pretty nice rest homes, retirement homes, and he wanted to move into one because he'd been on a cruise or two and realized that a good retirement home was very much like a cruise ship. And boy, that was the last I needed to hear about this. And
Some people having trouble with hearing, just hold it close to your mouth.
yes, how's that?
Is that better?
Yes.
Even closer.
Even closer. closer. Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah, Dr. Marcus, and this man who's a complete stranger to me really lit the fire to leave that beautiful place we had in Galena Forest behind. I'd always wanted to live in the mountains, and it was great. And also, Ryan Hart of Amada said, if you want to be our customer, we're going to have to get to you a lot easier than it is going up Mount Rose Highway.
So what did you mean by that? So you lived in Galena Forest, obviously we get snow up there, and Amada Care, do in-home care, which you guys don't need, but you were thinking ahead?
Yeah, I was thinking ahead. I was working on the problem of how do we age in place, and Amada would have been a big part of that, but that was not to be, and yet moving into a place like Revel, if we have problems, we can call on Ryan and Amada for care. One of the representatives from Amada is here, and it's pretty interesting to talk to Ryan, I'll tell you that. He knows a lot. He'll help you with your long-term care insurance and interpreting that to see if it will work for you.
So I want to know how much Ryan's paid you, because you got like Amada Care and 4 times in 30 seconds.
I think he poured me a coffee one morning.
Do you have anything you wanted to add, Lois, to that?
Sure. Well, let's see, what has Joe not covered? Well, it got to where there was just too much house for us to take care of. We had a large house, and we're going into a much smaller apartment.
Can we give the audience an idea of how large?
Okay, our house is 2741 square feet. We have a basement that's about 900 square feet and a big garage, and we're moving into an apartment that's 1,133 square feet. So we have been working a lot, and I don't know where the questions come, but we've been working a lot to get rid of things, and we brought too much with us, even as it is, so we're still getting rid of things. So yeah, there's just too much house. We needed to simplify and downsize. And as, well, Joe hasn't mentioned yet, but we've been, every time we've moved, we have never downsized before, and we brought everything we had with us. Boxes we hadn't opened for decades,
Anyone relate?
Bank statements from the 70s, even a couple of spreadsheets from the 60s. We don't need these anymore.
Well, that's easy to do when you're moving from the same size house to the same size
That's
of the
right.
light house. Let's
That's
just
right.
take it all, deal with it later. It's different when you're downsizing.
And we just didn't have enough energy to keep dealing with all these things.
I found the missing Social Security card doorway in 1977.
But we're still looking for things.
So I'll come back to you two in a moment. Mr. Bauer, so how long have you been thinking about this process, you and Susan? When did you start thinking about the fact that we're going to consider making a move?
We started thinking about it about 14 months in advance. When we first moved to Reno about 15 years ago, we did start going around to visit some of the senior living facilities, just to get an idea of what might be coming up in our life. And in those days, some of the facilities were offering lunch, a very nice lunch, and to go out and tour the facilities. So we took advantage of those things just to see what's out there. And if that is still available to any of you, I'd recommend that you take advantage of it.
So even if I'm not thinking of moving, you did that way in advance?
Yes,
just
we
to
weren't
know
even
what's out
thinking of moving. We just thought, someday we're going to have to make this kind of a move, so we started checking out what's available.
there. Nothing like a free lunch either, is it? Nothing like a free lunch.
Yeah, well, that was a big enticement. I know that one of the places here, I won't say the name, but they knew that Del Webb existed. They knew that there was people in there 55 years or older, so they would come to the Del Webb and say, we would like to treat you to a luncheon. If you would like to come, we can send a bus to pick you up, or you can drive. And they get a group of 12 to 15 people to go out there and show us around. And it was a very interesting place because my wife and I had never been to a senior living kind of place. I was fortunate that both my parents both died at home. And same with Susan, my wife. And so this was kind of a new thing for us to explore. And I think that all of us are going to face aging decisions, and the sooner you start just looking around, you'll learn more to make the final good decision.
Great, thank you, Joe. And Joe and Lois, how long for you guys were you kind of thinking about potentially making a move? Was it an overnight decision or taking time?
No, hardly. You know, I was thinking about that a lot this morning, and I think we spent a lot of time talking about this.
Yes.
It's sort of like an argument. If somebody tells you something that's new to you, you don't really buy it for a while. But after it percolates and you're thinking about it, it's good to start talking and talking and talking about it, and that helps with the planning phase.
I'm just curious, I haven't asked you this previously, but you've all been to the seminars for a good period of time. Have the seminars helped at all in terms of...
Yeah, absolutely. I went to, the first of these seminars I went to was at Northwest Library, and Sarah was there and put it in place, and Sharon and another lady, I can't remember her name, and they all helped with straightening up the place and getting rid of things that you didn't want, and kind of doing the Marie Kondo thing. So it was,
Okay.
Whereas I didn't really start thinking about it until this year. I mean, Joe had mentioned it, but I wasn't really on board yet. But we've been to all the seminars this year. I think all of the seminars this year. I didn't go to the early ones. And it started making sense with the advice we were getting. You know, are you going to stay in your home? Well, we need to do certain things. As Joe mentioned, it's hard to get up in the snow and to get down. Joe had knee surgery in January. I had to call down and say, I can't get out. Tell him I'll get there to visit him if I can. So, so it was really all the advice that we got this year that helped my focus to start thinking seriously.
So you went on board when Joe was. You got on board later.
Right,
What
and I wasn't going to let him
was
move by himself.
You were going to let him move by himself. Everyone may not feel that way. You move, I'll stay here. But let me ask, what made that change? You said coming to the seminars helped, but was there something that caused you to think, okay, this is something we should...
Well, it's just that Joe was on board before I was.
Right.
So I began thinking, yeah, well, that could be kind of nice. Don't have to clean the house anymore. Don't have to run the snow blower and shovel the snow when he decides that both of his surgeries should be in the middle of winter.
So you were the snowblower lady out there shoveling.
Let me say something.
Yeah, please, Joe.
I didn't mention it, and I should have. My wife and I started coming to these seminars when I heard about them, and it was being more than a year's worth of seminars. It's a long-term learning process, and it's a real eye-opener. I'm sure that those who are first-timers here will and should return. There's nothing like this elsewhere in Reno, and it's real valuable. And the sponsors that are here, you can talk to them one-on-one here, or make appointments to go see them at their office afterwards. It's just a never-ending learning experience.
Thank you, Joe.
yeah, I'd like to second that, Joe, because
Hold that up closer if you can, Joe.
it creates a way of thought coming here every month. You know, that we're doing this, and this is how we're going to do it. And we learn something new every time. I've been twice now to the seminar on different types of retirement facilities, and I learned something new at the second time around. So it's quite a process.
Thank you. So let me just ask, what degree were others involved in your moving decision, if anybody? It can just be a short answer. Was it someone else driving the decision, or was it you guys?
Well, everything that was done in this process was a hand in hand with my wife. Unfortunately, our closest relatives are Texas or Hawaii, so we did it between the two of us, but used the foundation of the things we were learning here to be aware and to know what to ask questions the next time or place we went. So it was very a two-person effort, but supported behind the scenes by things like this.
Right, thanks, Joe.
It was just the two of us, really, but I do know that my daughter and my son were very pleased to hear that they would not have to clean up after Dad. My daughter was about 2 months ahead of us in the process of moving herself in California. She hasn't smartened up enough to come to Nevada. And she gave me some really terrific hints about what needed to be done, because she had to downsize too.
And I would just add that, yes, it was just we who were discussing it, but everyone we told, every family member, every acquaintance we told, said you're doing the right thing. And you will be so happy once you have your stuff to deal with.
I can tell you're excited now having less stuff. It's like the weight's being lifted. So, Mr. Bow, biggest fears and concerns about this whole process, and when you decided you were going to move somewhere else, to Morningstar in this case, did you have any fears, concerns?
Well, in our case, the concerns really centered around how long would it take to sell the house that we were in. That always is the real estate market, but also the market, in my opinion, is affected by the weather in Reno. So a lot better to put your house up for sale, in my opinion, in the spring rather than deep summer, where the escrow period stuff's going to extend out into the snow practically. So that was a big a fear for us.
Can you tell me about what your biggest shock was?
See that?
Biggest shock. There was something in this process that came as a shock to you. Do you remember what that was?
The only biggest shock is when you have a lot of stuff to get rid of, what you paid for it.
That's true.
In our case, I'm not a very good seller of things. I don't go to eBay or garage sales or things like that. And we ended up actually using one of the sponsors that's here, and the guy essentially walked into the house and took a look around and says, I will give you a blank for everything in here.
Oh.
Take it or leave it. And I took it.
That was convenience in your case. You didn't want to be selling.
Pretty fast, but one time, a couple of years ago before that, I did have a estate sale where a lady came in and appraised some things that I thought were valuable. And she did whatever she does to attract customers nationwide, but mainly from Tahoe and Reno and Sparks, that kind of stuff. And she put the objects that we wanted to sell in one of our rooms of our house, and then a certain day people came in to make bids and take them. The things that I had inherited from my grandparents that I thought were worth a lot of money really weren't. And it was a shock to find that out. One thing that I did before this actual estate sale, but earlier, I inherited from my grandmother a 12-piece Tiffany setting, flatware, and I had, with serving pieces and oyster forks and tomato server, all kinds of unusual pieces. I had 283 pieces, and I just eventually sold it to a company that comes to Reno periodically and must offer silver. They just take it and melt it down, you know. Well, I just took money, but our kids didn't care about it. We couldn't put it in the dishwasher. And then just being me, we would have guests over to our house, and we're eating on this fabulous silverware, and not one person ever said, hey, where did you get this, or what is this? I might as well just have JCPenney flatware. You know? So I just said, it's just a burden. just got rid of it. But getting rid of things, you don't make a lot of money on it. That's the bottom line. So you got to start thinking about that.
And it's funny, I heard everyone laugh when Joe said, you know, you got way less than expected. I remember you told me about a thing you thought was worth $1,000. I think you got $75.
Yeah.
So don't laugh. Realize the stuff that we have, all of us, is not worth anywhere near. Whatever you think it's worth, halve it, and then halve it again, and you're probably starting to get close. Because it's not the market for most of the things we have. There are some exceptions. So Joe and Lois, same question to you. What were your biggest concerns or fears in making the move?
Was it ever going to end?
What do you mean by that, Joe? Hold your mic up nice and close.
I finally realized that it was almost like a job. I'm a big fan of putting my feet up and being faced with this multifaceted process. But I'll have to say that we had an estate sales lady come in, Debbie Cox of Chaos. Chaos is an initialism for her service in straightening out your house and all that. But she had an estate sale which was really successful in our house, and it's not easy when the sellers are living there, and we had to go sequester ourselves in California while she did it. And there were a lot of small shops, and even with the estate sale, it was, I'd see later on something didn't sell and it was marked for $10. I would have sold it for $3. So it's, and that's a little metaphor for the fact that in this whole process of this life change, it's, you lose control in a lot of ways. You know, I just found myself having to step aside. I couldn't move fast enough, logically or physically. So trust the people you bring in. Get good people to help you, and I'm a lot happier that we did that.
Yeah, I was going to add that when Debbie came in for the estate sale, they were there a few days separate. We tagged things that we wanted them to sell, we didn't want them to sell. So then we were gone. They don't want you there during the sale because some people get really upset at how little something that you think is valuable will sell for. She did a good job. We came in and said, well, I wonder what we still own. And we were surprised at some things that did sell and some things that didn't. But you have to be ready for that eventuality. But it was just the downsizing that we had a lot of downsizing to do. Again, we had 32 boxes that we took to the shredders, you know, stuff. And
how many of those?
32 boxes went to the shredders and filled our totes. And Sarah and Felix had put it
in order.
Put it in order and told us that we should start filling our trash totes every week with stuff, which we didn't do right away, but we eventually did. And so it's just getting rid of stuff that we had been moving with us every time we moved, from California to Wakefield Springs to Galena Forest. That we, in fact, I guess, you know, emotion, is this the emotional one?
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay. I'm done.
Did you have something you wanted to add there, Joe?
I was just going to say a little humorous story. Maybe when I married my wife, she had an old Honda car, and she wanted to sell it, and she wanted to get $300 for it.
I'm so glad his wife Susan's not here right now.
I sold it for $1,300.
So this has been the interesting thing, getting to know Joe and his lovely wife Susan. They're kind of like opposites. So Susan, and you correct me if I'm wrong, she just wants to get rid of stuff. Like, just get rid of it. I don't care about the money. It's more important to her to get rid of it. You're more of the other side of like, well, let's maximize, you know, what we're getting for us.
That's entirely true. She's getting rid of stuff on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah. But she's kept you, so that's the important thing, isn't it?
Where we live now, we have a large barrel in which you can put things you want to donate, and then the facility takes care of where to donate it. And we already have 3 pairs of shoes lined up to go down there when she goes to lunch.
That's all?
Dump in there. And that's just one day, you know. Tomorrow will be something related to a computer somehow. Who knows? It's just. But anyway, she's a giver of things.
But that's a good learning moment. So the thing that, we'll take questions at the end if that's okay, but that's a good learning opportunity. So Joe Bauer and Susan Bauer had a different approach to what the parks did, because Susan knew they were moving and she just wanted to get rid of stuff. But when it came then to doing an estate sale, there wasn't enough stuff for an estate sale. So that's the flip side. But so it depends on your personality. If you're good at getting rid of stuff, just get rid of it. But if you want to get money, then you're going to get more money from the estate sale than you would do in the buyout. But Joe went for the buyout because that was nice and easy and there wasn't a lot of stuff left because Susan had done a great job along with Joe of getting rid of things. Whereas the parks, on the other hand, they didn't really want to spend all this time going through everything, so they brought in help to help them get rid of it. But in the same token, then they got more money because we did a professional estate sale, which brought the money. So there's kind of differences. So just know at the outset, what it is you're trying to achieve.
Let me just say one other thing.
Sure.
This is a real minor kind of a thing, but things that, an example, something that pops up that you didn't think about, and that is when we moved, we were going to take our washer and dryer with us. But when we got to where we are, we found out that the dryer had to be electric, and we had a gas one. So now all of a sudden we got a washer and dryer we don't got to get rid of quickly. So you got to really be thinking and looking and analyzing what you're doing.
So while you're talking, Joe, did you have any physical challenges as far as the move, you and Susan?
We didn't have any physical challenges because we were moving, quote, locally. And we just would load up the car and take a bunch of stuff and then the next day do it over again. So we did that a lot. And then we had a moving company recommended by Brett, who was very good, and they took the big heavy items at the last move. So it really wasn't that physical.
Yeah, Susan's very self-sufficient, very capable, and you like going backwards and forwards. So not everyone's in that position to be able to do that, so everyone's kind of different. So what about Lois and Joe? What were your biggest physical challenges in this process, if any?
It just, what I think I've mentioned already, the facing this process every morning and saying, this job has to be done. There's only one thing to do is keep after it, but be willing to ask for help, which we were. And I didn't know where the help was coming from, but as we experienced getting people to help us, I began to get more involved and happier with the process.
Yes, as the deadline loomed, he got a lot more energetic. But the problem is the energy. Joe doesn't have the energy he used to have, and we had a 2-story house. So, you have to think about how much energy you have now and how much you have later if you are planning to move. If you're going to stay where you are, well, do you have the energy to stay there? So, we just had too much stuff and not enough energy.
I think one thing to be hard to think about, but the moves we're talking about might be your last move. Because during my lifetime, I moved from New York to Ohio to Northern California, then Southern California, then Nevada. And each time I just took every single thing with me. I didn't even think of leaving something. But now, do we need pots and pans? We have 3 meals supplied. Maybe we cut down to 1 instead of having 15. And kitchen knives, we had a whole bunch of them, and now we're down to like 6. Before that, we had like 20. So this is more of a serious move.
Yeah, what do you really need and wherever you're going?
Good point. So, you Joe Bauer. What about psychological or emotional challenges?
Well, I'd like to say that I don't have any emotional or psychological challenges. We weren't tied to where we were living. It was nice. There were some nice people there. There was a few that we came close to, but there wasn't anything like an end-of-life feeling crisis that we just got to move. I think the main thing is the psychological challenge is actually not part of the move, but where we ended up. And like I say, we're in a senior living facility. And we're lucky because we're very healthy. And there's a lot of people in there that are with walkers or wheelchairs. And all of a sudden, the person that you know at that table eating every day, they're not there. Oh, they had a stroke, you know. So things just happen, and it's just part of life, but it's psychological affects you.
Right, that's a good point. Joe and Lois, same question. Any psychological or emotional challenges?
Well, yeah, I had a lot of stuff that I haven't looked at necessarily, but for instance, I took my high school and college scrapbook and I flipped through it and just put it in the trash dumpster.
You what?
Lots of memories, but you know, somebody said to me, your memories are in your mind. They're not in the stuff. And I have a lot of letters from my parents mostly, even grandparents. I had boxes of letters, and I said, if I'd started 2 years ago, maybe I would have reread these. But I said, I don't have time to read these. So I just said, I'm really sorry, Mom, but these are going in the shredding. So, you know, you just can't deal with everything at that point. Even though we weren't in a rush, we did have kind of a deadline. Like the house was for sale. And so you just have to get rid of things that may be meaningful, same as Joe said.
What about you, Mr. Parks? I know you had a lot of books.
Still does.
Still
I
does.
have a lot of books. And,
How many books do you think you had before we started this process?
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
And hundreds.
And we've gotten rid of dozens and dozens and dozens.
No, you've gotten rid of hundreds.
We've gotten rid of hundreds.
That's right, we've got rid of hundreds. But when Joe mentioned the little shocks that occur, as many of you who know about Rebel may also know that the process of getting it built and finished was affected by weather and the labor shortage and labor competency even. So it was, well, I've lost my train of thought, see.
So we had some delays, didn't we? Just like any construction, I'm sure anyone who's done remodeling or built a home, it always takes longer. Every community we've worked with, when they're being built, takes longer. And yeah, this one's open now.
The article says that we moved in on December 3rd. Well, our stuff moved in on December 3rd. We're still in a hotel. We might be able to move in this weekend.
We're close. We're almost in. So yeah.
Brett and I have traded dates back and forth, but we've always agreed that whatever date was given to us, it was no good. Believe it when we get in there.
Joe moved into an existing place. We're moving into a place that is still being finished.
So there's just something else to be aware of too. Don't sell your house or terminate your lease too early if things can change. So we need to kind of build that into our plans.
We were very lucky at some of these crucial points. For example, we did put our house on sale. We started talking about it in May.
Right.
And when, I can't remember when we listed
Middle of
it.
August, we actually listed it.
And then with Debbie, the estate sales lady, we were talking about November 1st for the sale. Luckily, she moved it into September. And as I said, we went over to California for the duration.
It was a real problem. We went up to Lake Tahoe for 4 nights.
Yeah. The neighbors told us that the cul-de-sac we lived in was full. It was a full parking lot. A lot of people showed up. So, anyway.
Yeah. I think we're done with that question.
Thank you. Thank you for handing the control back to me. So, Mr. Bauer, the question I just had was, who else was involved in the process of actually making the move?
obviously besides my wife, but I think one good thing is if you happen to know a person who has already moved into a particular place, and we're talking senior living kind of place, talking with them, you will find some ins and outs that you hadn't thought of. And one of the ones that I'll just give an example of is that in one of the senior living facilities, they have heating, one heating setting at the temperature thermostat for all the rooms that are in there. And Morningstar, they have individual room heating, so my wife can be in one room at 70, I can be in another room at 73 or something.
Oh, so you mean within your own apartment, you can control the temperature?
So these are kind of things you would learn by talking to another person who had already made that move. So I can give other examples, but I don't want to monopolize this. But you're really getting into something that's, quote, not temporary, and you really got to take a good look at what you're getting into.
Yeah, so you should go out and look at the communities or the home or whatever it is you're thinking of moving to. Go check it out, feel it, talk to people. Yeah, it's great advice, Joe. So Joe and Lois, what about you guys? Were others involved in the move, and to what degree?
Not really.
Yeah. The Janelle group helped. The Janelle group helped enormously along the way. They had one employee who spent, how much time did John spend with us?
Oh, my.
I think he almost moved in with you, didn't he?
He actually did.
Honestly, though, we never had the feeling, are you still here? So I did want to mention that house process, that when I lost my train of thought there, we put the house up in August, and it closed, without stretching the story out, it closed last Friday. And that was really convenient. I think we were luckier than most we've had friends who other people moving in who sold their houses 12 months ago and 5 months ago, and they're living in some rented quarters and something like that. So it's not always going to work out that way. What Joe did was safer, I think, than what we did. We just skimmed along there.
So, but you did have help. You mentioned like a estate liquidation, correct? So you didn't have to work out how to sell off everything piece by piece?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then what about furniture? How did you work out what was going to fit where you were going?
Oh, that was something John worked on too. He had a computer-based program that Lois worked with John on determining from the size of the rooms what would fit in. And like most computer plans, it wasn't perfect. But it gave us a sense of that we knew what we were doing and that we had a plan. And it's easier to correct a plan than it is to just go in floundering and bringing all kinds of furniture with you and trying to put it in and changing it and putting it in and changing it.
And then John carried a lot of the furniture. The movers moved the stuff into the apartment, but John helped place things and set things up and move things around when they didn't really fit where we thought they would. And even move some stuff out to the hallway that wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah, we need to mention a little bit. We took 2 tables over to Habitat for Humanity earlier this week, and then 2 days later we took 2 rocking chairs over. So I think we're almost down to bare bones.
No, we still have some boxes.
It isn't like Christmas all over yet.
Thank you. So, Joe Bauer, in retrospect, is there anything you would have done differently throughout this process?
It's been on my mind, this whole process, but maybe I'm putting too much worry about it, but I think how long it takes a house to sell and when's the proper time to sell it. And one of the residence where I now live was a real estate agent for many years. And she said to me, I sold a house on Christmas Day one time, so I guess you just can't, something's beyond your control, and you get, you start thinking the wrong way, at least I did in my case, because I remember periods where recently houses were selling in one day. And then I put my house up for sale, and it's 4 or 5 months, and I said, oh God, you know. So I guess there is no real ideal time to sell a house.
I'm just chuckling to myself because I'm Joe's real estate agent. And while it's true we've had a longer closing, we close on January the 3rd, correct? But I think we're on the market for like 2 months.
Any doubt that people don't tell anybody that date, because I'm going to be out and then I'm going to tell people.
Oh, so that was going to be our secret. I won't tell you.
But I do have a buyer.
Yeah, we're in contract. About to close. So Lois and Joe, anything you would have personally done different throughout this whole process?
Started earlier.
Started what earlier?
Started the whole process earlier. It started lining up these people, started planning the things that we had to do. Our move from Sunnyvale in 2002 to Wingfield Springs was a clear sign of what needed to be done, and yet I didn't understand it at the time, but I packed up most of those books, and we probably doubled that by the time we were living in Wingfield Springs. But it was a huge process, and it was expensive. And then again, the move from Wingfield Springs up to Galena was even just as expensive. If that wasn't, the light still didn't dawn. It was, when I was in the middle of it, I realized, just like the estimates are a problem for the construction companies, my concept of what needed to be done was not clear at all until after I did it.
So you're saying you paid a lot of money to have stuff moved that you ultimately never looked at and then had to get rid of?
Yes, it would be, just to see the size of it, it cost about 2/3 less to move from Galena to Revel than it did from Wingfield Springs to Galena.
That's a bit of an eye-opener.
And I would say, just think through what you're going to do and anticipate what the changes will be. Don't just automatically, don't go on automatic. Think through where you're going, what you need to do. Anticipate that there will be changes, so think about it.
Great advice. So based on your collective experience having been through that, what advice would you give to the audience if someone was in the process now of thinking about making a move? What would you impart to them?
Start downsizing now. It's better to have 2 years than 2 weeks.
Does anyone need to do some downsizing in the house, even if you're not ever moving? Just
Even if you're not moving.
Get rid of stuff you don't use. Yeah, your hands. Yeah.
I would say to make sure that you're involved with your spouse when you sit down to do this.
Or your children.
Yeah, a family member is best. It's just enormously important to do that, to do what, to gain what Lois is talking about, the anticipation, bringing up blockages and errors that might occur, and just really understanding what you need to do is, you can't, the old brain doesn't do what it used to do when I was 30. And it's a big help to talk with each other and bring these possible problem areas out into the open.
So you think it's definitely worth having an ongoing conversation, communicating versus putting our head in the sand
And talking with people like yourself and talking to people at Rebel, and just realize that you're not really retired at the moment. You've got a big job to do.
So you must be making quite a bit of money today, Joe, out of endorsements, Revel, and Mark.
I don't think so, unless he's hiding it.
It's cups of coffee.
Joe, what would your advice be? What wisdom could you share?
I think the only wisdom I can say is to start early. And by that I mean, you might not be thinking of moving to a senior living facility for another 5 years, but there's no reason you can't check one this fall, the one in the spring, and start learning and try to find hopefully a person who knew or know that moved into where you think they're going, and ask them all the little details.
Mm-hmm. Or equally, if you plan on aging in place, what changes might need to be made to the home, what help might you need? Just knowing what that might look like. Yeah, great advice. But you said to me, Joe, I'm checking out like activities, if that's important to you, and you said meals, or when you mentioned that.
Well, I think two really important things about if you're going into a senior facility are to find out what is the facility offering you as part of your rent, and what the meal plan is. That can be, where I'm living, I just brought this with me, but we have so many activities, it's unbelievable. Every evening, we have an actual room that is a small theater, and every evening they show a movie in there, and you can just walk in, sit down, and watch it. And they have movies that are, some of them are right in the theaters right now. It's not like you're seeing old 20-year-old movies. But we also have, in that same room, we have every 2 weeks a guy comes in and gives a lecture on various very interesting topics. One of the topics was the life of Alexander the Great. Another one was cathedrals in Europe. Another was, I'm just going to call it extremes. In the world, what's the hottest place, the coldest place, the highest place, the lowest place, etc. And then he told stories and had pictures of all these kinds of things. We also have every other week a guy comes in and gives a computer class. We have church services for both Catholics and non-Catholics on Sundays. We have something that they call Margarita Monday. You just go to a certain room, one of the activity rooms, and they have some hors d'oeuvres and margaritas, and you sit and talk to your neighbors. And in our case, we don't even pay anything for that.
Now he's talking my language.
We have a bus and a van, but they take you to doctor appointments. And they also, last week, we went on a trip to Meadowood Mall, where they took us there. We stayed there for 3.5 hours, and we ate something and went shopping, and they picked us up and took us back home again. We have bunco classes. We have, just trying to read some other things there.
There's a lot on there, isn't there?
Yeah, we have, Wells Fargo sends a representative out to help people do their banking so they don't have to go to the bank. We have a root beer float hour. We have a Scrabble club. We have a financial discussion group on Saturday mornings. Once a week, they take us out, if you sign up in advance, to a restaurant. And they have all kinds of interesting restaurants, some that you would never think of. We went to a Pakistani restaurant, for example. They bus us out there. You have to pay your own meal, but they do have this program of taking you to restaurants.
Can you still go and do your own things?
Huh?
Can you go and do your own things? Like I know
Well,
the
if you're going to do your
like
own,
Susan.
you'd have to get your own car and go or something, but they
But
take
you don't
a
stop.
group of 12, 14 people and go to ABC restaurant. And these are things that you never thought of before. You have a painting class.
I just want to make the point, you can be as independent as you want though in the community, because I know your wife Susan,
You can be
she goes
very
off to the
independent.
fitness classes and everything she's always done.
You can be very independent, but there's some people that want to go to restaurants that are in scooters. So they load the scooters on the bus and take us to whatever restaurant it happens to be. So the facility does a lot of things that make life enjoyable. I must say, from my personal standpoint, that a lot of it centers around meal times. And meal times, the food is excellent, believe me. But it's like you're back in high school. There's certain people sit at this table, certain people sit at this table, you don't go to that table. So you catch on to these things. But it's just overwhelming, the things that they keep you busy all day long.
Right, thank you, Joe. So my last question, or second last question to each of you, I'll start with you, Joe Parks. What does it mean to age successfully to you?
Oh,
Hold that nice and close, Joe. So I'm going to
close. I would say that aging successfully means keeping my eyes on the future. And I look at the past not only for material, for stories. I like that old saying that came around when we were younger, keep on trucking. Don't stop. If something comes up, like Joe's heart problem, and I had one that was much less serious, just keep on going. Don't ever think that life is over and you get sad about it. And I would like to add one other thing, Brett, that hasn't come up enough, is that because both the Bowards and the Parkses are involved in retirement living facilities. We had two neighbors in Galena Forest who didn't want to face the snow anymore. They're about 80, so I'd say Scotty and Bob. And they bought houses down in the DeMonte area, and they're very nice houses. But they don't have the kind of help that you were talking about, Joe, which is so important now, kind of a kick in the pants to go do something. The gym at Rebel is terrific. I have been at another place where it wasn't so good. The biggest weights they had were 10 pounds. I think we can do a little bit better than that. So it's never quit. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Joe. Well said. Lois?
I would say decide what makes you happy and do it. So if it's going to restaurants, if it's going to concerts, in my case, I play in an orchestra. I plan to keep doing that, although I don't know where my cello is going to fit in the new apartment. But find out what you like to do and do it.
Thank you. Joe?
Well, I think aging successfully starts when you stop working. And it might be another 15, 20 years before you're going into a senior living place. And so when you stop working, what makes aging be successful is little to no physical ailments. You're socially happy, you're mentally challenged, you exercise, you team with your spouse on doing lots of things, and you travel while you can still carry your suitcases. My wife and I are very fortunate. We've done a lot of traveling. You name it, we've been there. All 7 continents. And one year we made 6 foreign trips in 1 year. So if you're interested in something, whatever it is, learning how to fly a plane or take a trip or work part-time, not at the executive level you used to be, just to keep yourself occupied, you just got to get out and do these things. So that's when it starts.
Great advice.
I would like the time just to read a book.
Time to read a book.
Yep.
Do you have anything final that I didn't ask you that you wanted to share, or are we good to open up
I would
questions?
just say be patient and be flexible. You need to go with the flow and be patient about it.
Patient with yourself
Patient with yourself and with your spouse.
and with your staff.
And be flexible for whatever is coming along. You've got to adjust to things. whether you're moving somewhere new or staying where you are.
We're going to open up the questions. You guys are comfortable taking some questions?
Fire away.
Fire away. Does anyone have any questions for our... we've got some microphones. Brian Wessel from Physio Spine of Reno. Let's start with your first person over here, Brian, and then we have Vic from Armada Care again. Round of applause to Vic from Armada Care. Let's start with your... over here.
It's not per se a question, but when my mom was alive, what I did is, this is about 10 years ago, I was able to get all the pictures, the family pictures and everything back then was on a flash drive. So it's everything to get there. Now we have the cloud, so a lot of those pictures from her high schools and everything else I was able to put on the cloud, and every now and then just go over there. The computer screen was in front of her and she could look at everything else. My mom was a concert pianist, very, very good. We sold her grand piano. It was just too big. But I'd take her to churches or something else and she could play there, and then she just kind of got bored out of it. But then I also bought her a real nice electric one that was small. It was only maybe 1.5 feet wide by 5 foot. And she got on there and just did her business and had a real great time. But getting a downsize, she'd always tell me, if you don't move, you rust. So I just I graduated from a military college, and she was in a wheelchair, and I just put on the back, Sergeant Scarcelli's mom, and I'd push her down the main drag, and she just had a great time. But just everything was able to downsize, and the computer programs nowadays are just so advanced. I put my birth certificate on it and everything else and put it in the cloud, and that's the end of it. A lot of times I don't even have to worry about things, it's up there. And I did it for my mom. This was back then about 10 years ago, so we had still disk drives and everything else, and they were still good. Everything, her memories were in a shoebox as opposed to all over the house. And then nowadays you can bypass a shoebox and put it in the cloud, and the rest goes on. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Over here. And if we could, yes, Dee.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Janelles for another wonderful seminar. Thank you to the panelists. I'd like to ask of Lois and Joe if you could share what kind of a financial commitment you made to maintain a 1,100 square foot. Is it an apartment or a condo? Do you buy into it? Could you tell us?
It's the new building on Kieski, to give you a physical site. There's the Schwab office, and up that little road, there's the building that we're in. And in front of it is an assisted living by Clearview. So there are several different sizes of apartments. And I would say that the commitment's probably, and if there's anybody here from Rebel who can correct me on that, I know Barbara was here, but it could be a commitment from anything from, I don't know, 40, 50,000 a year to maybe 70, but it includes so much of what you're doing already, the gym membership and that sort of thing, and a nice swimming pool and all that. It's really quite.
I'll add that I did a financial worksheet. Most of these places will give you one where you can put down what you think you will no longer be spending where you are now, and what is covered at the place you're going. And we were really surprised to find out it wasn't that different. That, yeah, it's expensive to move to another place. We didn't buy in, it's a lease arrangement. But it's really informative to do a spreadsheet with any place you're looking at. What do they cover? What are their costs? What are your costs now? And what will you no longer need to spend?
Because you got rid of a lot of costs. No longer have to pay property tax, no worry about house maintenance,
Right.
utilities,
Right.
grocery shopping, all that's provided for you. So yeah, that's a great advice. Did that answer your question, Dee?
Yes, thank you very much.
Did you have something to add, Joe?
I took your question to not mean how much money, but whether you are renting month to month or buying in and have to sell at a future time, such as some of the communities in Florida. So there are many, besides the dollar amount, it's how is it done in a particular place you want to go to. So some are leasing month to month, some are long-term buy-ins, and having to sell it when you leave. So there's lots of answers to your question.
But in the case of all of you, it's a lease arrangement, month-to-month lease for a period of time. Back over here, Brian, do we have a question on this side? You want to jump back to this side if you have a question? A couple down the back. Dick, just in front of you there.
Yes, the title of this seminar is The Truth About Successful Aging, and I think I really appreciated all your information about where to live, but I think balancing our physical needs and our mental needs is important, but we also have a spiritual side, and for me, with cultivating that side of our life will give us positivity, gratitude, and hope and faith. And those qualities have really helped me in many dire times and still continue to help me. So if we have hope, if that's the last thing we have, that's crucial. When we lose our hope, we have nothing. And faith is important too.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
That kind of ties into what January is. It's the truth about living a long, healthy life, where we'll cover a lot of that. So the gentleman just in front of you there, Vic. Vic? In front of you.
Yes, this question is for Mr. Parks. When you had mentioned you had your estate sale set up, that you were asked to leave the house and go, so what process did you use in finding that person that you could trust?
We had little meetings all the time, those of us who were waiting for Rebel to be finished. And sometimes they worked with Brett, and we were at the Swill Coffee Shop, and Debbie was introduced to us as an estate sales lady in chaos, and I left my seat and went over and sat beside her and started talking, and made a deal and said, we want your help. I was not going to let her get away because I had no idea how to find anybody in estate sales without, getting on the internet and doing one of those tiresome searches.
Okay, thank you.
So just to add to that, so Debbie Cox is one of the estate sales people we use, and these guys are working with us, so that's who we had brought to this workshop and introduced them to. So they had, I guess, hopefully you had confidence in us in terms of who we were recommending. And
Well, also Sarah.
Sarah Police,
She said put it in order. She came up and gave us advice. She's more for people downsizing, I think, who maybe aren't trying to sell everything, but she was very helpful also.
Sarah's great.
The other question I had, as far as the retirement facilities, what's the pet arrangements? Are pets allowed? Or?
At Rebel they are, and it was an interesting case in our situation where Mark Schultz, the executive director, is a dog lover, so that helps a lot. And somehow or other, our 55-pound dog has put on a lot of weight.
So that's pretty much true for all of our communities here in the area today, except pets up to a certain size.
Thank you.
Great question.
Brett, this question's for you. Is there a checklist on the website or in your office as to such as myself to use as a guide as to thinking about the process and then going through the process to try to minimize what I forgot?
In terms of the downsizing process or
Yes,
rightsizing?
downsizing and moving possibly into a facility. Is there a checklist?
Yeah, so if you see our move manager, John, put your hand up. John has a checklist, I think, outside that he can give to you, the 10 times steps.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brett, I think Jody wanted to touch real quick, if she could, on the cost calculation.
Oh,
The
please,
first
Jody.
question that came up.
Yeah, Jody, jump in. So, Jody,
Hi,
come here so people can see you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jody from Cascades. That checklist, I have a bunch of copies of the how to downsize and get ready to make that big move. And I also have a checklist of a cost calculation on how to figure out what you're paying now versus what it's going to cost you to move into one of the communities.
So I'd recommend go see Jody.
And
get
there's
both of
Christmas
those.
gifts out there for as long as I have them for you all. Some of you have already gotten them.
First come,
Where are
first
you
served.
from, Jody?
Cascades.
one of our senior
And we
living
take
communities is
dogs.
fast. We're gonna take dogs.
And cats.
Who's got my Brian? Can you jump over here and then this gentleman?
100-pound
Any
dog?
hands up over the side?
This is a question for any of the panelists, but we all have such trouble getting rid of stuff. And I guess, and it may be too new to really ask this question of you, but have you missed any of your stuff?
Yeah, we haven't found everything yet.
I would say not, the answer is no. But I notice when I go into a kitchen drawer, like we had a knife that we used to cut bread. It's not there. My wife said, "Oh, I don't need it." I got rid of it. All of a sudden, the things pop up like that.
I think you're so busy with other things that they're not a big deal, is it? You're enjoying, excited with your new chapter of life, but we don't need all that stuff we had necessarily had. Yeah. Great question. Can I, you're gonna not like me, Lois, but we were there on Move Day helping unpack and get you guys all resettled.
Even Brett and Annette were helping.
Yeah, that's what we do. But how many wine glasses did we take too many?
We took too many. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we also have some wine, and I know our Mike and Dee here. They're going to be up to our apartment to help us get rid of some of the wine. So we needed to have enough wine glasses too.
Do you have enough wine glasses for everyone here to come and help?
We did get rid of quite a few.
We don't need as much as what we think we do we?
No, we do not.
I'm sorry, and down here.
Yeah, hi. How did you go about, or did you go about, setting ground rules to deal with sentimental things like gifts to each other, or a wonderful memento of one of the many trips that you took where you didn't want to hurt the other person's feelings, or you didn't reach agreement on the sentimental value?
I think we just left it up to the other person to decide what was important. You know, Joe could throw away anything he wanted, I could do the same.
Well, what Lois did first was, we had a lot of pictures, hangings, and went around and listed every last one of them, and then I gave them a score of A, B, or C. And then she handed it to me, and I did not see her scores, and I did the scoring for myself. And then we kind of cross-referenced that to pick out the ones who, the A list, and make a joint A list to hang at our, if there's room.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
And is it true, we spent a lot of time though working on what you were taking versus focusing on what we weren't taking? We were really more focused on what's going to go as the starting point versus trying to sort through everything. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't get that, the importance of that at first, Brett. That was something else I had to drill into my head, is what do you really want to take?
Yes.
I take it that all of you have families, and how do you manage in separate living when it comes to Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, things like that?
Our families live out of state, so
You're not cooking any more big dinners?
we don't know yet. Depends on if they decide to come visit us.
Did you have a comment to that, Joe?
Yes, I did. Oh, go ahead.
That's a hard question because, as I mentioned, our family is in Hawaii and Texas, and we might go on vacation to see them, but not going specifically for Thanksgiving. We meet up with new friends or and the facilities themselves. We had a big Thanksgiving dinner where we live now. We're going to have a Christmas dinner with. This last Saturday, they even had a special dinner for the holidays, and then at the end of the dinner, the staff played roles in a play, and they actually had a play that they were sitting watching a play that they did. So there was a lot going on.
Thanks, Joe. Go ahead, over here.
Hi, just a remark.
Lois hit home when she was talking about her mother's letters. When you're going through things and you find treasured items like that, usually the kids or the cousins aren't interested in family history or that sort of thing at that time, but later on they will be. So what I try to do is digitize or make a postcard of a special picture of like your great-grandparents or copies of your mother's letter, and I send them a card or an envelope at Christmas time with that stuff in it. A lot of them won't keep it, but there may be someone that will carry on your family history. So those treasured items are meaningful to future generations. If you can start early, like Lois says, and start sorting through that and get it out and share, then it's going to be something meaningful down the road, and it brings that person back to life later on.
Yeah, no, thank you. Great. That's all. Does anyone else have any questions before we? This is my beautiful wife, because you don't know. I do as she says. Just boss.
You can ask any question.
So I'm not sure which one asked the question about having family and living in a community. Yes. So that's a good reason to go and tour the communities, because a lot of them do have dining rooms, separate dining rooms, where you can entertain your family, and you just reserve the dining room. So when you go on a tour, that's a great question to ask them and check it out. You can also have them go into the main dining room and have you know, depending on how many are in the group, but if you have a big family that are coming over, that can be arranged.
We do have a separate dining room if you had a family. But we also have a huge activity room, this about a third of this room, and people had a big wedding anniversary, and they must have 80 people in there they brought in. So you can even reserve a room like that. So there's a lot of things. You're not alone.
Well, if we don't have any more questions, on behalf of all of our sponsors, Annette, myself, our staff, and our panelists, we'd all like to just wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We hope to see you in 2020. And can we just have a big round of applause for you guys?